walls, there's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Livestream. Thank you so much for coming out on this Sunday afternoon. We're back. We're back. Were we gone? I felt like we were gone. We were gone. But last week was our first one back. But now we are fully back. And I know it's controversial when I drink anything. When I eat or drink anything on stream, there's always a reaction. Some people don't care. Some people, any sound of slurping or gulping is annoying. So I feel like the safest thing to do is to just chug this whole thing right now and get it out of the way. It's not the wrong camera, Slidby FPV. It's not the wrong camera. Oh, I'm aware of what camera it is. It's the camera I choose. I like to come in with a little bit of the, you know, just the, hey, I'm just chilling in the studio before I switch to the face cam. Just so you guys can appreciate all the work I put into my you know, look, I put a lot of work into this place. Should do a studio tour. Don't you think? Maybe someday. Fine. Fine. Here's my face. You asked for it, now you're gonna get it. Wow. I'm gonna try not to burp all stream. I mean, I just wanted a little caffeine. A little I can go 2 hours without drinking. I can. Glad you guys are enjoying the lighting. I've been working on it. I think this is a pretty good, lighting setup for a stream. There's one, hang on one second. I gotta, actually, there we go. Yeah, the closet light was on. It was casting a little bit of side light that wasn't the right color. Now we're good. Now we're good. Whew. Oh, man. Anything going on in the world? In the world of FPV? What do you think I meant? Is the God cam still foggy and blown out? I don't know. Is it foggy? Should the lens need to be cleaned? I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're not going back. Oh, it's tough. It's tough because here's the thing. I have, and if you guys come to my live streams, you know this. I have an explicit no politics policy because the goal that is for this to be a space where we can come together under the umbrella of FPV and be friends and brothers in FPV, and we can argue about politics and all the divisive things in the world somewhere else. And I still feel that way. But some things are more sort of universally wrong. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to talk about them on the stream and like turn this into a political stream. But something that's less divisive is a little more fair game. But something that's less divisive that personally affects me, now it's fair game. Because ultimately my live streams can be about whatever I want them to be about. And I just want to say, so if you didn't know, for many years, I edited all of my videos. Every day I would get up, I would answer my emails and messages for a couple hours. I would edit or post today's video, and then I would go and shoot tomorrow's video. And like every day I was editing a video and shooting a video. Okay? And eventually it got to the point where I was like, this can't, I was like, okay. And I hired an editor, and I hired him off of Fiverr. I literally just went on Fiverr and found somebody who could edit videos. His name is Fabio Pansera. And I sent him a sample project to edit. He did a decent job. For about a year, he edited almost all of my videos. Eventually, he edited almost all my videos. He would do about a 90, I'd say like a 90, 95% edit. And I always watch him through because like sometimes I see little things I want to tweak, and there's technical stuff that he's like a little bit into drones, especially since he's been editing my videos for years, but he doesn't have the technical depth to be like, so I always want to make sure that there's nothing that got missed. But he saves, like, it's so nice to be able to just sit down and shoot a video and then throw it over the fence, and he does almost all the editing. It's great. And after about a year of paying him piecemeal, he said, well, look, things seem to be going pretty well. How about you make me like a salaried offer and we'll figure something out. And that's for almost 3 years. No, more than 3 years now. He's been an employee, a partner, dare I say a friend, as much as you can be friends with someone who lives overseas and who you never actually meet in person. But dare I say. Which brings me to the reason I started talking about this topic, because he is Italian. It's Fabio Pansera. With a name like Fabio Pansera, how could he not be Italian? He's Italian, but his wife is Ukrainian. And he has lived in Ukraine with her and her family and for I don't know how long. But he has a strong affiliation with the country of Ukraine, although he is not a Ukrainian citizen. And he is currently in Ukraine, despite the fact that he had, maybe he doesn't anymore, but he had the option to leave. He said, essentially, I'm not leaving my wife behind. I'm not leaving her family behind. And I'm not taking my wife to Italy, where theoretically she could get deported back to a war zone. I'm staying. And so he is there now. And, who knows? The details of what's going on in his life are, his own. And I don't even know all of them. But I will say this. He's not editing my videos right now. And obviously that's fine. I feel like, despite the fact that Europe has different labor practices than America, like sometimes he's like, hey, I'm going to take my 2 weeks of vacation. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're European with your 2 weeks of vacation. Okay, go do your thing. Despite the fact that we have different labor practices, I think everyone can agree that when your country is at war, you can take a few days off work. And so I'd just like to say, first of all, Fabio, obviously, I and I'm sure all my viewers wish you the best. Stay safe. Do whatever you need to do, and hopefully life is back to normal as soon as possible. But I would just like to say, Putin, come on, man. I got videos to post. I need my editor back. Can you stop invading Ukraine so I can get my editor back and I can get back? We can all sort this out. Americans, Tony RZ, Americans' attitudes towards vacations is a little weird. Many American jobs, especially white collar jobs, will have vacation days built in. But then a lot of the time, if you actually take them, people look down on you and think you're not a hard worker. Anyway. Okay, so I don't want this to turn into a broader political discussion, like saying things like, oh, if only such and such, then this wouldn't have happened. I don't want to let American politics creep in and divide everybody. And I also kind of don't want it to just turn into a, because we're here to talk about FPV. But I just wanted to say, this is affecting me. It's affecting me. And now that it's affecting me, suddenly I care. No, I'm joking. Boys FPV says, I don't understand. The internet's working. What's the problem? Do you understand? I mean, he left his home in the middle of the night to go to a different city to not be where the bombs were falling. So, and then, all night air raid sirens are going off. So they're not getting any sleep to say, oh yeah, let me sit down and edit some videos. No. Anyway. All right. Well, I felt like I kind of had to acknowledge the reality of that, and also just say publicly, Fabio, I wish you the best. Everyone in Ukraine, I wish you the best. And there we go. So let's get on with the FPV talk. Okay. Here's what's going on, folks. I'm gonna be answering your questions and replying to your comments. That's what I do all live stream. Oh, Fabio's here. He came by to say hi and thanks to everybody. Thank you. Oh, good to see you, Fabio. I didn't know if he'd show up. Yeah. I'll be taking your questions, answering your comments, preferably mostly about FPV. I will also be taking questions and comments from the Discord over here. These are my beautiful patrons. Ciati's lava lamp is... I'm sorry, guys. Athix noticed that Ciati's lava lamp behind me on the desk it's having some issues. I think the lava lamps might have a lifespan, and it's not a slight against Ciati, though. Let's go ahead and take some questions. Oh, one last thing. If you guys want to make sure I get to your message, hit the $ right here. Hit the $ right here. And leave a super chat, and I will read the super chats as well. Guillermo Nespolo says, I'll edit your videos until you need it, till Fabio comes back. No! No! I'm going to take this hit. No one's going to fill Fabio's place but me. Yeah. We'll take the hit and we'll work through it. That's what we're going to do. All right. Let's take some questions. We got a question here from... Oh, wait. Can I do the thing? Hang on. We got a question here, from Jirai Takanashi, who says, I'm updating my full-size Crossfire module after a year. There's a big jump in the updates. Is it normal for it to go through a lot of resets on the restarting device part of the updates? I don't think it's abnormal to go through at least like one reset or one power cycle. The bottom line is, did it finish the update? That's the bottom line. I definitely recommend, if you have an older Crossfire module with an older firmware on it, you definitely need to go to at least firmware 6.13. There have been a ton of issues with Crossfire and binding to certain receivers, and the fix, and everybody who's using Crossfire right now should do this. Everybody needs to go, oh wow, apparently I changed the size of that for a minute. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Head cam, green screen, copy transform, right monitor, paste transform, or is it reset transform? Hang on. There we go. So what you need to do is go to TBS Agent M. This is a web app. It's not a PC app. Don't use the PC app. It still has issues, as far as I can tell. Flash Crossfire version 6.13 or newer, and then rebind and update your firmware on your receivers. I know the problem is that it has been said previously, oh, we fixed all those problems on 6.10, and then whoops, there were still more problems. For me, at least, 6.13 has worked pretty much flawlessly, but you have to flash it using Agent M, not Agent X, the web app, not the PC app. So, good luck. Good luck with that. Jonas Agren, or Agren, wants to know, is Sharkbyte dead in the water? Well, it depends on what you mean. I would not say that HDZero is dead in the water. HDZero continues to make stuff. The 1-watt VTX is finally hitting stores and available for sale. They've been a little bit impacted by some lockdowns in China due to Nevermind. So they have been unable to manufacture at the schedule that they had hoped, but it is now becoming available. They are working on a goggle. Carl from HDZero has talked about the specs for the goggle, has gotten feedback from the community. Of course, that the goggle is vaporware as of today, and I have a strong policy of putting the least amount of credibility in vaporware. It's not that I disbelieve, it's just that I'm gonna take a wait and see attitude, but the things they're saying are nice. The biggest reason I would say that HDZero is not dead in the water today is that I can see the passion. You know, you ever watch Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay? And he says to the chef, you've lost your passion. You have to get your passion back. That's my Gordon Ramsay impression. It's not a good one. To get your passion. But it's true that you can see somebody who it has a fire and a passion and an excitement and a drive to make something happen. And Carl from HDZero absolutely has that. And that is not the only thing you need to make a company successful, but it definitely matters. So HDZero is fighting hard. In addition, they have a very supportive group of users who love them, and I feel like they have a lot more fight in them. But the other question that you actually asked is Sharkbyte dead in the water? So Sharkbyte is Fat Shark's implementation of the HDZero tech. HDZero makes the chips, and then Fat Shark was going to put those chips into VTXs and goggles and sell them as Sharkbyte. And unbeknownst to most people, that's actually how analog VTXs work. There's a modulation chip. I'm blanking on the manufacturer, so I apologize. But basically, a company makes this chip, and all of our analog VTXs and VRXs have the same chips in them, but they're sold under different brands. And that was the model that HDZero wanted to develop, that they sell the chips, and then Foxeer, Runcam, Fat Shark, that they all make competing products using the same chips. Sharkbyte might be dead in the water, by which I mean Fat Shark's implementation of HDZero, because Fat Shark, the way the story went, as I saw it, was that Fat Shark put out the first batch of Sharkbyte stuff, a video transmitter and the Scout HD goggles and a video receiver, and then it seemed like HDZero wanted to move faster than Fat Shark did. I don't know the exact dynamic at play, but the next thing that happened is that HDZero starts releasing their own cameras and their own video transmitters, not having the Sharkbyte branding on them. And then Fat Shark started dropping support for those things and saying, well, we can't get parts, we're not going to support them. And it feels like Fat Shark has pulled away, and it feels like, from some of the public statements that have been made, it feels like Fat Shark is actually somewhat resentful of HDZero taking a more active role. So it seems like Fat Shark is not as interested as they were, because they're unhappy with HDZero taking a more active role. And to be fair, if the deal was supposed to be, I make the chips, you make the goggles and the VTXs, and then suddenly I start making the VTXs, it's like, well, that wasn't the deal. So, Stinger Swarm, good to see you in the chat, my friend. Stinger Swarm recently released, did he release it? I think he must have released it, because other people are talking about it. He's asking what, I can check this, because the quad is right here. He wants to know, he recently released a video where he flew my Rotor Riot Outlaw. Awkward. It wasn't awkward, I'm just joking. He flew my Rotor Riot Outlaw with HDZero on it, and I think he must have released a video. This is the Runcam. It says Runcam on the bottom. I think it was the Runcam Micro V2. It's a little hard to tell. I think this is the HDZero / Runcam camera that was released. It's not the new 4.3 camera. This was the one that they released, that HDZero released in a small batch a little while back and sold out. So unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's the Runcam Micro V2 is the correct name for it. But there is a new camera out from HDZero that has 4.3. That's the newest one, and it's not that one. Hopefully that helps. Aber the Ham says, to be honest, the customer service is what used to sell people on Fat Shark and make them willing to pay a premium. Even that has fallen off recently. I can only say like what I hear from my ear on the ground. But I also hear people saying that they're not getting the support from Fat Shark that they would have expected. Pacific Northwest Pilots thinks the camera was out of focus. I've heard people say that. I'm not convinced it was. I mean, every time I put out an HDZero video, people say, oh man, I think the camera was out of focus. Oh man, I think there was a problem with the VTX. And I'm like, oh man, maybe that's just how it looks. I don't know. Everyone's saying it was out of focus. I mean, welcome to Stingy. Maybe it was out of focus. I don't know. I mean, like, I just handed you the quad. But welcome to reviewing HDZero gear. I have to say, I have never put an HDZero video up that did not have someone saying, I think it looks better than that. There must be something wrong. And sometimes there have been things wrong with it, and I've tried to fix them. But they always say that. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to just pull it up on a live stream to see if the video is in focus, if the camera's in focus. I don't think that would be a good use of the... Do you think that would be a good... I mean, I could literally plug it into an HDMI capture card and we could look on stream. Let's create a poll. Let's create a poll. I'm going to create a poll and I'm going to let you guys vote. It's going to be fiddly, but we'll see. We'll come back to that poll. Pink Kaju asks, a very good question, Pink Kaju. We'll come back to that in just a minute. Pink Kaju asks, is the Fluke 101 multimeter as accurate as it gets for measuring voltages? Here's the thing, Pink Kaju. A $10 multimeter from Harbor Freight probably is just as accurate as a Fluke multimeter that costs $150. Because measuring voltage accurately is actually super easy. It's super easy. Like, obviously, lots of things get it wrong. Like, you get battery checkers, and they're like off by 1/10 of a volt. And not that you can't get it wrong, but it's not hard to get it right. And usually, when I've done comparisons with multimeters, like I've done comparisons in the past where I've compared like an expensive Fluke multimeter to a cheap Harbor Freight one. And usually the Harbor Freight one is basically just as accurate. Now, the Fluke multimeter may have more precision. The Fluke multimeter may have 5 digits of precision, whereas the cheap one may only have 4 digits, right? So, and if you were to buy 100 multimeters, the Flukes would all be accurate, and maybe the Harbor Freight one, like 1 or 2 of them would be off. But the main thing you're getting with a Fluke multimeter, from what I understand, is you're getting that it's certified accurate, so you know it's accurate. You're getting a lot more robustness. Like if you were working on a 600 volt panel and you wanted to be really sure that you weren't going to accidentally shock yourself or destroy your multimeter, the Fluke would be more to do it. But honestly, for hobby purposes, a $10 or $20 multimeter is definitely going to be as accurate as you need. Okay. The the poll is overwhelmingly yes. All right, let's end the poll. All right, everybody wants me to check the focus. So let's read the super chats, and then we'll check the focus on this camera, and we'll see. 76% yes. Martin Wynn, thank you for a £5 super chat. Appreciate your kind words there. Ross Werner, thank you for a $5 super chat. My drone seems to stutter and glitch on moderately slow throttle ups. Only slow throttle ups, though. Punch outs are fine, even out of prop wash. Bad ESC. Woo! Stuttering and glitching on moderate throttle ups. So, my guess is that you have a resonance issue where at a certain throttle position, you get a frame resonance that causes the gyro to freak out. And when you do a fast throttle up, you move through that throttle range so quickly that you don't notice it. But if you move slowly, you hang out in that range. So Ross Werner, what you need to do is capture a black box log with gyro _ scaled as the debug mode, and we need to check the gyro data. Excuse me. You're going to hate that. Someone out there is hating that. Scott Abramacek, thank you for a $4 super chat. Just thanks, says Scott. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Where are I need my HDZero. I need my HDZero, and I need my antennas. There we go. I need my antennas, which I believe are in here. No, those are not antennas. DJI goggles. I guess I don't strictly need the antennas. They won't damage anything by running without the antennas, but and then what am I going to do here? I got a HDMI capture device. Boom. And I'm going to need a USB cable. It's going to be, there we go. What a coincidence, I found the right not a USB, the right HDMI cable straight off the bat. That's convenient. It's going to be HDMI to mini HDMI. Okay. And I'm going to need a battery to power up the unit. Let's see here. Here's a power cable and here's a battery. So we're going to power up the unit. And then, let's see here. I should be able to go to, do I already have this set up as an input? Where would this be? It would be the desktop scene, wouldn't it? Source cam desktop. Hang on. Properties. Device. Cam link. Why is the cam link? Is the cam link not picking anything up? Are we powered up? I think we are. Huh. It's powered up for sure. Hang on. Best live stream ever. You asked for this. You asked for this in the poll. You said you wanted this. This is why I put it to a vote, because I knew there would be a lot of dicking around trying to get it to work. 77% of you asked for this. We're going to find out if this camera is focused or not. First, let's just find out if my damn HDZero unit is working. I don't see why it wouldn't be working. Why is the goggle not turning on? Why is the goggle not turning on? There we go. What does that mean? Oh, great. That's exciting. What does that mean? Cool. Is my battery dead? Is that it? Maybe my battery's dead. Let's try a different battery. And we will check with a battery checker to be sure it's charged. Yes, battery's fully charged. Okay, is that the problem? What's going on here? Why? 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 You SOB. Why? Why would you do this? What's going on here, fat shark? Okay. Let's take the goggles out of the equation, because this is dumb. Let's just get a screen. And then we can also bypass the video capture problem too. Oh no, I'll still video capture. You guys still want to see the exact input. Why is it not turning on? Okay. You didn't know what you were in for, did you? You didn't understand what I meant when I said, do you really want to do this on stream? Now you are starting to see why this was a great idea. Okay. Power up. Okay, here we go. We got a readout from the goggles. Perfect. Now, why are we not getting a readout into the video input? Here we go. Boom. And... aha! Hallelujah. Now we're getting somewhere. Oh, what is that? Why is it flipped upside down? Okay, let's fix that. Okay. And transform. We're close. We're close. What are we doing? Transform, rotate 180 degrees. Transform, flip horizontal. No. Flip horizontal. Flip vertical. Oh, yes. Oh, boy. We are almost here. The payoff moment is coming. I haven't checked the chat at all. I have no idea what you guys are saying. Here we go. Let me get a battery. Where's a freaking XT30? Is this battery charged? Wouldn't that be nice? Viewership of my stream is going down. 4.2 volts. Okay, here we go. And we gonna use a smoke stopper just in case the props try to spin, so I don't chop my face. Be safe. Always be safe. Okay, we have power. We have video. We have video. Now, hi, how you guys doing? Part of the problem here is that you guys are looking at a 4.5 megabit per second stream. You are going to see reduced quality, but what I think we should do... oh, flip. Can I just... oh. If I had another receiver, I can have multiple receivers, and I can look at it on a screen while you guys look at... oh! Where's my other Sharkbyte receiver? I have another Sharkbyte receiver somewhere. Oh, where is it? Where the flippin'... oh. I don't have it. Where is it? I know I have it. What about the Scout HD goggles? Where are they? Where are the Scout HD goggles? That'll work. Aha! Aha! I knew these would come in handy someday. Okay. Now we need a battery. Dead battery. Okay. Power up. Good. Find the signal. Yes. Come on, baby. Hello? They have the... oh. Why are you not picking it up? Fuck. Is it still... it's overheated. Or so, no, I unplugged it. Okay, I'm a dumbass. That's my bad. All right. Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to point it out the window and we're going to see if it's focused. Okay. So here we go. Open the window so there's no... how are you going to even tell if that's focused, to be honest? Can I just... bet some of you are wishing you could go back and change your vote, aren't you? Should we do it right here on the live stream? Yay, let's do it! Oh my god, what a disaster. It won't come out. God dang it. Do I have to take the whole top plate off? Fuck. I do. Was it focused? 77% of people said do this. We're going to have another poll, and it's going to be, was that worth it? 77% of people will say no. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Now, how are you going to tell, like, if it's focused? I'm turning it now. Okay, the lens is loose. That's clearly out of focus. That's clearly focused. Is that better than it was? And that's roughly right where it was. That is right where it was in the video. Now I'm going to keep going the other direction, and that is, to me, that's clearly worse. Let's see if we can get this focused as perfectly as possible. I'm looking at the trees in the distance and the little branches. Like, to me, that's about perfect. Like, I'm looking, like, right up here at the trees. I don't think we're going to get it a lot better than that. It's too far. Get that lock ring just right. That's probably about as good as it. Oh, it's a tiny difference. There, that's like perfect. Okay, settle that in. That's like, I think that's as sharp as it could possibly be. So, is that an improvement? That's the big question. Why are we focusing on trees 300 feet away? In my experience, when you focus on basically infinity, then that makes you basically get the whole field in focus. That's how I focus my FPV cameras anyway, when I manually focus them. Is I focus on something far away, and then you are clearly in focus closer. So, if we were to go back and look at that, we would see, I think that by focusing on the tree 300 feet away, it's not 300 feet. By focusing on a tree like 100 feet away, you end up with everything in focus up to like 20 feet, and it doesn't matter. So you want infinite focus from like 20 feet on out. The people in the chat are, I mean, I'd have to go back and look. People in the chat are saying it was improved from where I started. I'm not looking, obviously, I wasn't looking, I was focused on focusing them. I have to say, if it was a difference, it was a very small difference. Does this mean that everyone should manually focus their HDZero cameras? Are they coming from the factory not fully focused? Shit. Okay. Can we see back to back? I'm curious how I would do that. No, face. I don't have it saved. I do not have DVR to compare. Honestly. Rewind stream in a new window. Maybe. Oh, we got thanks to the people in the chat for doing screen grabs. Here's the before. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, John Goblin. Here's the before. Oh, wow. Okay, so first of all, the stream looks like shit. This is so much worse than it looks in person. Can I just say? The stream looks like shit. Okay, so do not at all judge the quality of HDZero based on what you're seeing here. Like, do you see that even the lettering up here is messed up? This is the stream quality. Do not judge the quality of HDZero based on this. That my stream is being broadcast in low resolution. Here's the after. It does look like there was a small improvement. If you look at the trees right here, it looks like there was a small improvement. It does. It looked like there was a... It's difficult because, of course, the stream is messing it up. It does look a little sharper, though. So I would have to go back and look at my... I could look at my local copy of the stream to see if I agree, but it would just... I couldn't show you because... I did think it got maybe a little better. So what's the takeaway? Thank you, Ken Hartman, for a $5 super chat. Thanks for going to all that trouble. And thank you, R.C. Ritter, for asbestos long johns, for all the heat that's coming. Thank you for a $2 super chat. Again, I just want to really reiterate, the actual feed looks significantly better than this. I'm not going to go so far as to say it looks just as good as DJI, but I think we could argue that the focus was less than perfect from the factory. I mean, it's tough, Sebi D. People said that the people said that my very first RunCam the Sharkbyte, the HDZero Nano camera, the very first one, people said that it was out of focus. And I went back and meticulously refocused it, and it was not. So, like, it's really hard to take some of those complaints seriously when every time you post anything about it, and Madstech is with me on this. He's making the same comments. It's hard to take some of those seriously when every time you post anything to do with HDZero, some of the fans of HDZero fill up your comments telling you that you didn't do it right. It's hard to take it seriously and know when there really is a problem. Regardless. So, I mean, these are just two screen grabs. So, but I do appreciate the screen grab. I definitely think that in the trees up here, we've got a little more detail, just a little. So, anyway. So now I look forward to my comments being full of people telling me that I did HDZero dirty by not checking the camera focus before testing it. Can I just say, I have never refocused an analog camera before testing it. I assume that they're shipping them correctly focused. I have never refocused a DJI camera before testing it. I assume that they're shipping them correctly focused. And HDZero gets the exact same treatment that I give all other cameras that I test. Now, if I look at it and I go, this is clearly effed up, obviously I will stop. I will not just, well, I guess that's how it is. But, yeah. It's not like I'm being unfair here. So I guess the takeaway is that you need to manually focus the cameras. Anyway, cool. But Stingy, I feel like you have to go back to the people who said it was out of focus and say, well, it was not as perfectly focused as it could have been. I guess that's the takeaway. Thank you, Jonas Agren, for 50 Swedish kroner. Appreciate that. Callie FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Callie asks, can I use a spike absorber instead of a cap? No. You need a capacitor and a spike absorber. If you have to pick one, I think the cap, not the spike absorber. So, but both is better. Family Guyver says the DJI lens is glued and is a pain to replace. Didn't know that. Yeah, I have to say I'm a little bummed. I'm disappointed because I know I'm going to hear about this and I'm going to be accused of things that aren't true, like being lazy or just intentionally misrepresenting HDZero. And it's going to annoy the shit out of me. So. I mean, I feel like there's a certain amount of preparation that you should be obligated to do. Like when Slat posted his test and he had mismatched firmware or whatever, or he hadn't installed the RF shield correctly, like there's... But I feel like manually refocusing your camera after you get it from the vendor, I feel like shipping the camera with correct focus should be a given. And so then if I show it and it's not focused perfectly, that's me showing you that they're shipping unfocused cameras, not me not doing my job by not fixing that problem. Now, obviously the best case situation would be to say, this isn't focused, and then note that and fix it in the review. But frankly, the first one didn't look so bad to me that it was obviously out of focus. I'm not even sure. I mean, we could go back to my review of that camera and see if it came out of if it was in focus when I got it and came out of focus in crashes and stuff. Don't know. Anyway. Jason says, you've been a bit negative about HDZero, but many of your comments were correct. It's clear that undermined your opinion of it. I don't know if I'm negative about HDZero. I'm critical of things about it that there are to be critical about. So. Anyway. Let's move on. Let's look at my analytics for this stream. Oh, wow. I'm impressed. You guys really stuck around. I'm really impressed. You guys actually stuck around during that whole nonsense. There was a little bit of a drop, but basically you stuck around. Cool. I'm happy that you did that. Thank you. Floyd NY asks, do you have an opinion on the Eachine TX16S radio? Yes. The Eachine TX16S radio is basically just a Radio Master TX16S with Eachine branding on it. It is essentially the same in every way. The controls are a little different, like the buttons are a different shape. But at the end of the day, it's fine. And if you find it in stock and you want to get it, be my guest. There's really no difference. Yeah. Excuse me. Blades FPV says, just buy goggles with focus adjustment, problem solved. I'm afraid that's not how focus adjustment works. Yeah. Newport Drone FPV says, was it a big difference? No, move on. Yeah, I am actually surprised. I mean, I'm going to guess it's people who fly HDZero like on the daily who were like, oh, that seems out of focus. The difference was pretty slim, although I did see it when I started holding the lens exactly right. Arguably, if I flew HDZero every day, I would be like, something isn't right here, but I don't, so... Ken Haupt, thank you for a $10 super chat. I'm a little behind the live chat, but I appreciate the Crossfire fixes. All my rigs are grounded since I updated to .12, since .13 was beta. Yeah, definitely go to 13, or I think maybe 14 is out. I'm not sure, but definitely go to the latest one. Thank you for that super chat. Basket FPV wants to know, what do you think about the Insta360 Go? I have problems with shaky picture. Well, Basket, do you mean that there's an issue with the stabilization? Is there a known issue with the Insta360 Go stabilization? I don't know. I know people getting good results from the Insta360 Go. I don't use it regularly myself, but guys like Zorro FPV use it all the time and get good results from it. I don't know if there's a known issue. Jeremy Garbarg wants to know if the review of the iFlight Commando 8's coming soon. I can't review it until they actually send it to me. They sent it to a couple of reviewers. Then they got a lot of pushback from the Express LRS devs for putting it up for pre-sale and sending it to reviewers before the Express LRS devs got a chance to see it. The iFlight apologized and said we should send it to the devs before we send it to reviewers, and it has currently not been sent to reviewers. At least I haven't gotten it. I assume that when the Commando 8 is released, I'll get one for review, and of course I will review it. But everybody's so curious about this radio, but I can't review it until I have it in my hands, and I don't. Oof. Raceband. That is... Raceband says, I just built an God 250. The flight controller will not stop boot looping. I flashed it to the newest firmware, tried any beta, something's still wrong. If your flight controller is boot looping, is power cycling, that's not a firmware issue. The first thing I would do would be desolder everything from it in case something is shorting it out. Unplug the ESC, start by just plugging in USB and see if it's stable on USB. And then after that, plug the ESC in and see if it's stable on battery voltage. If it's continually boot looping, it's probably just damaged. Oh, wait, if you have an all-in-one, then there's no unplugging it from the ESC. It's all in one. But it seems likely that it's a hardware issue, unfortunately. RGMG, thank you for a $10 super chat. Just switched to Crossfire, and I'm wondering what I'm giving or gaining by sending up the NanoRX to 150 Hz versus dynamic. RGMG, the Crossfire system can operate in two modes. One is 50 Hz and one is 150 Hz. In 150 Hz mode, you have approximately one-third the latency, but reduced range. Is it one-third the range? I don't know. I don't know the exact metric. It's probably less than a third the range, to be honest. But a lot of people will lock it to 150 Hz mode if they plan to fly at relatively close range, especially racers, but also for some freestyle pilots. In my experience, Crossfire locked at 150 Hz can go out to the limit of like an 800 milliwatt VTX without fail-safing. You'll see some reduction in LQ, meaning some packets are getting lost, but the LQ will go down to 75 or 80. So most of the packets are still getting through, and it's still flyable. Now, the dynamic setting, the way it works is it starts at 50 hertz, but then when you get past a certain range, it drops. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. It starts at 150 hertz, and then when you get back past a certain range, it drops to 50 hertz to give you a more stable link. The reason that I don't like to use dynamic is that it switches to 50 hertz like after 300 feet, you know, a really short distance. And it turns out that Crossfire is super conservative about switching to 50 hertz when it's in dynamic mode. If you actually lock it at 150 hertz, you can go way further without actually losing the link. But if you put it in dynamic mode, it'll be at 150 hertz, and like instantly it'll just drop to 50 hertz at really close range. So my preference is to lock it at 150 hertz. I know that that will give me enough range for the places I tend to fly and the way I tend to fly. And then it'll just be consistent packet timing and consistent latency. If you were going to use dynamic, I have to say, you might as well just lock it at 50 hertz. Because the switch from 50 to 150 or back throws off Betaflight's RC command processing just a little and causes little glitches. So if you just lock it at 50, it'll be more stable. And it's going to go to 50 pretty quick anyway. So you might as well just lock it at 50. I don't actually think dynamic Crossfire is very desirable. So I fly all my freestyle birds, the ones with Crossfire on it. I fly all of them locked at 150, and it does fine for me. Where is the 150 hertz setting? Asks Welsh FPV. It is in the. Is it in the module settings or the receiver settings, guys? I can't remember. It's in the TBS Agent X Lua script. Madstech has an interesting comment. Let's see how this handles his gigantic comment. Oh, haha, it made his comment extremely small. Okay. Madstech says, as far as I've seen regarding HDZero, you've been more than fair. You look at it from a consumer point of view. I had this argument over the bot grinder video on the receiver. I don't feel he was being unfair when the manual doesn't say you have to use additional antennas. I guess bot grinder flew without the 2 extra antennas. Ian says, I do start to see creators not to bother to cover some of the HDZero gear if there's a constant barrage of hate from the people who don't agree with what's being said. At the moment, HDZero is not out of the box as easy as DJI, and it remains to be seen if it's any better for the FPV community, as they are both closed-source proprietary technologies. HDZero is not the good guy and DJI the bad guy, as it's being pushed by some. If racing moves over to HDZero, that's just another company with a monopoly. Well, that take is definitely going to get you some negative feedback, Ian. But I do think there's a balance that reviewers need to strike. Like, I'm thinking about when Linus Tech Tips, I know a lot of people watch his channel. He's a PC channel, and he focuses mostly on Windows. But he did a Linux test and a series of videos where he and one of his other presenters used Linux for a month. And they ran into a lot of problems. And a lot of the people in the Linux community, when people are fans of a subculture or an underdog, they very, very much want to see it represented in a positive light to the larger culture. And they very, very much resent when people who are supposed to be experts don't have their level of expertise with the product. Because it represents the product in a bad light, and they see that as, like, you're supposed to be the expert, shouldn't you know these things? And there is some truth to that. Like, I think there's a balance you have to strike as a reviewer between acting as an expert who will help to educate the viewer about the product, that's the stance that the fans of the product and the manufacturer want you to take as a reviewer. They want you to be a fan of the product, to be an expert on the product, and then to help communicate the value of the product to their customers. And so if there's some weird quirk of the product that you need to know about, they want the reviewer to know that and communicate that. And that is some of the job of a reviewer. But the other side is that a reviewer needs to take the perspective of the customer and help the customer understand what their experience with the product is going to be like. And to some degree, that means the reviewer needs to go in cold to some degree. And if the reviewer experiences the kind of problem that a normal customer would experience, if the reviewer comes in with too much expertise, they can be in a situation where they solve that problem. They don't really recognize that it's an issue. And then they're also failing as a reviewer because they have not communicated to the customer that there's this issue that they're going to run into. So it's a tricky balance to strike, I think. It's a tricky balance, and you're never going to get it 100% right. So, Say Strict Sex. Hey, Ciati, good to see you here, man. Say Strict Sex. No, wrong one. Okay, that's apparently gone. I can't put the... Say Strix S. Nope, you're gone. Okay. Thank you for a $10 super chat. I'm about to maiden my first quad after 4 years of being away from the hobby. Should I use dynamic power on my Beta FPV 1-watt module, and why? So first thing you should know, Say Strix X, is that Stinger Swarm tested the Beta FPV module, and his module, at least, would not reliably stay at 1 watt. You could set it at 1 watt, but then the range would be shitty, and the conclusion that he and Beta FPV came to is that it wasn't actually handling the heat. So the first thing to know is that if you set your Beta FPV module to 1 watt and you get shitty range, it may have a heat dissipation problem. It's unfortunate, but that's the life you chose when you bought Beta FPV. Express LRS dynamic power will keep the power low when the quad is close and raise it as the quad gets further away. As long as it works well, it's the best of both worlds. You get fine range and you conserve the power of your battery. Stinger Swarm says full details coming about the... Is that, Stingy, without giving away too many of the details, should I keep... Is it a problem with the module, or is your module fine and I should stop bad-mouthing them? Let's make sure we got that right. So I would say, in general, it's fine to use dynamic power. Express LRS, I haven't seen any problems with it. But if you get issues where, like, your LQ drops and your RSSI, like, when you have dynamic power, your RSSI will drop and then bump up as the power changes. So I would say if you get issues like where you get glitches in your control or fail-safes, then set to a fixed power. Elephant454 says, as someone who was kind of annoyed by the Linus Tech Tips thing, I can see this frame. I really like this framing of it. It's important to look at it from a zero context perspective. Yeah. It's so hard, too, because as a reviewer, it would be easy to say, I don't have to educate myself. I don't have to read the manual. I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to be lazy and not do any research. And then if I screw it up, I'm just going to say, well, that's what a user would do. So I guess your product is bad. As a reviewer, you can write off any mistake you make as saying, well, that's what a user would have done. So I guess that's what I was just representing the user there. And so it's really difficult to strike the balance and to know when you've done a bad job or when, yeah. So, so that's Sastrix X. That's I would say try using dynamic power. But if you run into issues with it, with the power changing rapidly, then you could just switch it to static, to manual power. Yeah, Jekli says, in all fairness, Slat did mess up. Slat did mess up. I mean, no hate on Slat, but it sounds like the amount, especially when you're working with pre-release product, if Slat had taken a VTX and a receiver that came, were retail samples, I might feel like giving him a little more slack. But since it was pre-release, I think it's there's a little bit more of an expectation that it's in flux and he needs to stay in contact with the manufacturer. Ron Vaccaro wants to know. Nope, that's gone too. Ron Vaccaro wants to know, I'm in the market for a new FPV bag. How's your iFlight bag holding up? I love it. It's my daily. You should buy it. Jimmy Thiero, thank you for a $20 super chat. Nope, he's also missing from the thing. We'll have the DJI system delivered in 2 days with the Nebula Vista. I have several HD systems, but pretty excited about it. What DJI camera do you think is the best? I think the original DJI camera or the Nebula Pro is the best. Basically, any 120 FPS camera. Aber the Ham, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's your turnaround value for Crossfire LQ RSSI DBM? Aber the Ham, for Crossfire LQ, the official turnaround value in 50 hertz mode is about 80% LQ. For 150 hertz locked, the official turnaround value is about 40%. Now, keep in mind that although the link won't fail safe, when you are at 40% LQ, 60% of your packets are getting lost. So your actual throughput is pretty bad. But the point where the system will say link lost and actually fail safe, those numbers come straight from TBS. Miguel T, thank you for a $5 super chat. How does the flight controller communicate with the ESCs? Can I use a FetTech FC with BL Heli? Yes, you can. So FetTech flight controllers can use D-Shot just like Betaflight ones. They can just send D-Shot to the ESC and it works completely normally. Just set the FetTech flight controller to D-Shot 600 or D-Shot 1200 if you want to. I'm not sure which. Some BL Heli ESCs won't support 2400. But yeah. And FetTech can't currently configure an ESC via pass-through. So you would need to plug in a Betaflight flight controller to configure the ESC. However, the FetTech Alpha firmware is supposed to be adding that. Nick FPV says, how do I read my LQ? It's just in a ratio format. Nick, it's not a ratio. When your LQ says 5:100, that's not a ratio. The first number is the RF mode, which relates to the hertz of the link. So, in Crossfire, RF mode 1 is 50 hertz and RF mode 2 is 150 hertz. In Express LRS, RF mode 1 is 50, 2 is 100 hertz, 3 is 150 hertz. I don't remember the exact breakdown of the numbers, but so that first number is the RF mode or hertz that the link is using. And then the second number is the actual LQ, which it goes from 100 to 0. What version of Express LRS comes on the Radio Master, asks June Loco. I don't know, and it doesn't matter. You should just update it when you get it. Whenever you get new Express LRS gear, the very first thing you do should be flash it to the latest version because it moves so fast that that's just what you should do. And if you're like, but I don't want to flash, I just want to, if you're going to go Express LRS, you better get used to flashing it. You just got to get used to it. Sorry. Gel Merhemstra asks, are you still doing Patreon giveaways? Yeah, absolutely. So my last Patreon giveaway was... at the end of January. I did the January and the February giveaway at the same time because it was posted on January 31st. So I was like, okay, let's just do them both at the same time. So that may be why you didn't see one. You thought you didn't see one for February. I picked 2 winners on the beginning. So the next giveaway will be at the beginning of March. I would like to point out that if you are a patron, then you get a notification in your email inbox when I post this. If you are not a patron, you can still enter the giveaway. You'll notice right now I am in an incognito window. Anyone can enter the giveaways. Obviously, this giveaway is over. I do not restrict them to patrons only, at least in part, because it would violate patrons' terms of service and the United States FTC guidelines. So if you would like to get in on the giveaways, you just have to stalk my Patreon page, and then you should see it when it posts. Or you can just join my Patreon for as little as $2 a month or more if you feel like I've earned it. You decide the amount. It's just like putting a few bucks in the hat of a busker who's playing beautiful music for you, except instead of music, it's videos that help you fix your quadcopter. Yeah. Cycling Mikey, thank you. Yelmer is how you say Jelmer. Good. Thank you for that clarification. So I am still doing those giveaways. Every month I do a giveaway on my Patreon. Yelmer Hemstra. I see. Now it makes sense. Yeah. Dozer FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's the best Express LRS hardware? Good question. So Yelmer Hemstra asks, are you as a patron automatically added to the giveaway? No, you have to manually enter the giveaway. Patrons are not automatically added. You get an email which says the giveaway's been posted, go enter. But some people don't want to be entered. They don't want to win the prizes. They're like, no, don't worry about it. So you have to enter. That's the rule. If you're looking for Express LRS hardware, can I suggest you check out my website, fpvknowitall.com. That is the home of the ultimate FPV shopping list. And there is a segment here with controllers and receivers. And there's a section there with Express LRS. Now, these are not the only good Express LRS hardware in the world. The point of this webpage is to cut through the noise and show you some hardware that is definitely good. And these are the ones we've picked out. It doesn't mean that stuff that isn't on the page is bad, although some of it is bad. But it means that these are the ones that I would definitely steer you towards if you wanted my recommendation. And you can read more about why I say that and some of the pros and cons of Express LRS. Yeah. Josh Nunn wants to know, is there any benefit to moving to Express LRS if my VTX range is mediocre? I mean, it will give you more confidence in your range. It will give you lower latency. And it has some other cool features that you may find appealing. So, yeah. Somebody is asking what my headphone brand is. These are the Audio-Technica AH40, I believe. Where's the actual model? AH40, ATHM40X. The Audio-Technica ATHM40X. Thank you, June Loco 619 for a $4.20 super chat. Thanks for always being with us, being there for us. Thank you so much. Demo FPV. Okay, yeah, let's address this. Let's address this. I'm not interested in making drama, but since really, Bardwell isn't interested in making drama? I thought that's all he did. Since you asked, I didn't bring it up, but since you asked, so Cyclone FPV, sorry. Cyclone, so I put out the video about the Rotor Riot solder-free build, and Cyclone FPV put out a video here, basically saying we did it first. And he felt really strongly about this. The video is 25 minutes long. It talks a lot about their system. He points out that if you just search for solder-free drone kits, yeah, if you just search for solder-free drone kits, I'm not gonna. I guess it's fair game to play his video. He put my video in his video, and I didn't copy strike him. So, and I'm not going to. So I would hope that he also wouldn't copy strike me if I play his video. So, you know, fair play. He searches for solder-free drone kits, and sure enough, oh, there's my video at the top. Fantastic, love it. And if you just scroll down, there's Rotor Riot solder-free build kit. And then if you just keep scrolling, right there is his thing, the plug-in pilot solderless drone kit. So his argument, I think, is that it was incumbent on me to do my research, because he points out, I'll use his video, he highlights it right here.
In FPV. And
I say, hang on.
This has been something that has been a long time coming in FPV. And everybody says, why doesn't somebody do it? And it's like, it's not rocket science, and no one has done it until now.
Yeah. So I say, no one has done it until now. It's not rocket science. And he's like, well, actually, I did it. I've been doing it since 2020. Fair enough. Yeah, all I can say is I had never heard of this before. He's trademarked the phrase plug-in pilot. And sure enough, if we go and we search plug-in pilot, plug-in pilot. Let's try Cyclone FPV. Sure enough, here we got it. And it's $159, which is a pretty good price. I got to say, so like, the only thing I have to say is I don't know literally every product in all of FPV. Despite the fact that my trademark, my slogan is FPV know-it-all, I don't literally know everything. And I had never heard of this before. Never heard of it. But it does look really interesting. It does look really interesting. What I think is really interesting about it is that you can order it from him with your choice of receiver. You can order it with your choice of controller. He'll set it all up for you. Right? And he'll send it to you either as a kit. This is the solderless drone kit. Because I looked it up and I was like, yeah, but you don't pre-configure the flight controller. He's got a tutorial showing how to configure the flight controller. I was like, yeah, but the Rotor Riot one, you don't have to configure it at all. You just plug it in. He's like, no, we do that too. So that's cool. I went back to his website and I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, we got this. We got this all over. And I could not actually find, he gave me a couple links. I could not actually find an example of it. Like, here's the kit. This is the DIY kit, but this is just the frame kit. Customized build. Is that it? Is this where he builds it for you? I'm not sure. Building options. There we go. Yes, I found it right here. Of course, the first time I do it on a live stream, it actually works. So credit to Cyclone FPV for implementing this. I have never heard of it. And, you know, when I say something on in a video like, this is nobody's done it before. I mean, the implication there is I don't know of anybody who's done it before, kudos to him for doing it, but no kudos to him for his marketing, because he said in his video, I don't know how Bardwell missed this. This is not a direct quote. I don't know how Bardwell missed this. Bardwell knows who we are. He's talked about we've talked about other great things Cyclone FPV has done on the news. They've done really good things for the community. When there were activation issues with the DJI FPV drone, they sent a gutted DJI drone around so people could activate their air units, or their goggles rather. Really good guy, Chad move. And they also were the one who exposed the Toolkit RC chargers being defective. So, I'm a fan of Cyclone FPV. And one of the things he said in the video was, Bardwell knows we exist, so how could he not know about this product, was the gist of his statement. And it's like, bro, you also know I exist. At no point in the last 2 years did you say, hey, I've got a really cool thing. Do you want to know? At least I don't. I mean, I checked my inbox. I didn't see it. If he says, actually, I talked to you about it and you weren't interested, I will be like, okay, fair point. But I don't think he talked to me about it. So, pretty cool stuff, though. And my only thing was that, it's frustrating. And I've been guilty of this, too. I have 100% been guilty of this. I understand that it's frustrating when somebody gets something wrong about your product, but to assume that there's some kind of malice or incompetence there and come out of the gate swinging is, right now that video he made complaining has 200 views, 300 views. It'll have more now that I've showed it on my live stream. And that's the end of it. But if you just reach out to me and say, hey, you said no one had done this before. We've actually been doing this for 2 years. Are you interested? Are you interested in finding out more about this? Who knows? But there's a possibility to say, oh yeah, that's really cool. Like I remember when I reviewed the, I'm blanking on the name. I reviewed a frame that was basically a copy of a Catalyst Machine Works frame. I had at the time never heard of Catalyst Machine Works. So be it. And I released a review of this frame, Avant Quads. It was an Avant Quads. And I reviewed this quad and was like, this thing's really cool. I really like it. And people in the comments were like, it's a ripoff of the Catalyst Machine Works. How dare you? And Catalyst Machine Works was like, he reached out to me, was like, hey man, we want to try ours. We'll send you ours. You can compare it. Yeah, sorry, everybody's a big fan. He basically was totally cool. And I was like, yes. And I have been a huge fan of Catalyst Machine Works ever since. So, there's different ways you could take this. And the default way of F you, how dare you, is not necessarily the best one. So, anyway. But credit to Cyclone FPV for what they're doing. If they've developed a hand-built, solderless build that they support and they provide parts and people can get into the hobby without having to solder, I would very much have liked to know about this sooner, because this is the kind of thing, like I say in the Ken Heron video, that people have been talking about for a long time and no one has done, to my knowledge. All right, moving on from that. Thank you for bringing that up. For the record, Tarek and I are talking on the back end. Like I reached out to him and I said to him, some of the things I said here, others will remain private. But I said, hey man, that's cool that you did that. I would love to know more about it. And who knows what will come of that. Gel Captain, good to see you again. Gel, your latest video regarding dimming and turning off the brightness in HDX, me and others couldn't reproduce it the way you did in HDX 2.6. We cannot turn the screen off. Yes, that's correct. So I am on HDX 2.5, largely out of laziness. HDX 2.6 and newer, you cannot turn the screen completely off. I think the reason they did that is they didn't want you to lock yourself out by accidentally turning the screen off, and now you can't turn it on. But you cannot turn the screen all the way dim like you can in 2.5. So that's a known thing. They made that change in 2.5. Yeah. Thank you, Jordan C., for a $5 super chat. Says, hey, JB, I haven't been in the hobby since the DJI goggles came out. What's the big release since? Basically nothing. Nothing. Literally nothing has happened. No. HDZero is obviously a big deal. As a competitor to analog and an alternative to DJI for some people who align with the things HDZero does well. Express LRS is a big deal. That's another thing that's a big deal. Orca has released new goggles. Sure. Perry Earl, is there a workaround that lets you turn the screen all the way off? And if there is a workaround, put it here in the chat. I'd love to know. Wow, Tyrannosaurus Rex says the screen brightness thing made me go back to OpenTX. Wow, that is a strong opinion of that screen, the ability to turn your screen brightness all the way down. Brian Malin says the difference between backlight off and 10% is like 10 milliamps. There's not a whole lot of power used by the backlight. So why do you really need to turn it all the way off? Well, people care. Abraham and Jirai Takanashi are having a conversation about speed measurement. The single best way to measure the speed of a quad if you're trying to do like top speed runs is GPS. GPS speed is actually super, super precise. And there's a technical explanation of why GPS position is not super precise, but GPS speed can be super precise. But GPS is actually the best way to do speed measurements. Even a radar gun can be subject to parallax effect and difficulty getting lock. GPS is the way to do it. Desi Stevens wants to know, as a beginner, would you go Rotor Riot SF or normal? What's Rotor Riot? Oh, solder free. Desi, you're going to pay a premium for the Rotor Riot solder-free build. So and obviously I think that you'll benefit from learning to solder in that you'll be able to repair your gear with, other than, like, imagine you build the Rotor Riot solder-free build and then one day you break a motor wire. Do you just going to replace the whole motor? That's a waste. So learning to solder... Oh, sorry, guys. I got my desktop volume still on. The Discord... That was my Discord notification, not you. I'll mute that. Sorry about that. So learning to solder obviously has a benefit. The solder-free build, if you are willing to pay a premium and continue to pay that premium for spare parts because you just don't want to learn to solder, then it's a fine option. But obviously learning to solder is beneficial, and learning to repair your parts will save you money in the long run. Mike Crabtree, thank you for a $2 super chat. I'm going to decline to read your super chat because it's a directly disparaging comment about Cyclone that I don't want to just... People can read it if they want to read it and take it as your opinion, but I'm not going to repeat it for fear of it being perceived as my opinion. Thank you, Mike, for another $2. He says, you rock. Now, that is my opinion, and I am going to say it. Sorry, guys, about the notification beep. I have my desktop unmuted so I could play the Cyclone video. Welcome, Phil Sonnenberg, to the live stream. Better late than never, Phil. Whit Mead points out that Andy RC did use a radar gun when he was recording the speed of the Diatone GTR 369SX. Yeah, a radar gun can work. The problem with a radar gun is first of all, it can be hard to get a lock, okay? So you do multiple passes And if you don't get a lock, then you waste your battery. The other thing is that in order to get the most accurate speed, you have to fly right at the guy holding the radar gun, which is obviously like he'll like huddle behind something and cross his fingers that he doesn't get smashed. So GPS is really the way to do it. It's safer, it's more accurate, it's better. Obviously, not all quads have GPS, so... But if you're serious about speed measurement, GPS is the way to do it. Bulldog FPV says, I tried updating my Crossfire transmitter. Note, transmitter, not receiver. Now it's stuck in bootloader mode. How can I fix it? I mean, Bulldog, if it's stuck in bootloader mode, you should be able to reflash it. If you plug it in and use TBS Agent M, you should be able to reflash it. That's the point of bootloader mode, right? Athix FPV wants to know when the... Oh. Why is that comment not showing up? What's going on with my... Should I reload this page? Will it show up then? No. Weird. When the first HDZero board comes out, will you try it on your baby tooth build? Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's tempting. My philosophy is never pull apart a working quad to try something new. If you got a good working quad, build a new one rather than rip it out. But maybe I would pull that analog build off my... The thing is, it's a 400 milliwatt Unify on that toothpick now. Maybe. I might. That's tempting. What about the built-in GPS on GoPros, asks Nick FPV. Yeah, that's fine. That would work. That would totally work. Yeah, if you have a GoPro, it has GPS built in. You can turn it on, and then you can extract the speed after the fact from the video files. It's nice to have the speed in the DVR, of course. Yeah. MK, thank you for a $5 super chat. Is the iFlight Beast F7 worth it or a different board? I'm interested in a reliable all-in-one for bashing my 3.5 inch. I would say that if you're going with an all-in-one, a 3.5 inch is about as big as I would feel really safe going. An ultralight 4 or 5 inch, it could work, but for an actual full-size 5 inch in the 500, 600, 700 gram range, I would not go with an all-in-one. But for a 3.5 inch, it's just fine, and the Beast F7 is a good, reliable one, as reliable as they come. The problem today is that everything is so expensive. So, like, what is Beast AIO F7 55 amp? What is that going for today? It's going to hurt me to see this. Selling for $100. So if you look at that and you say, well, for an F7 flight controller with a 55 amp ESC, $100 is perfectly reasonable. You're right. It's perfectly reasonable. But the difference is that if you pop a FET on this guy, you're out $100. And if you buy a separate 55 amp ESC, it's probably going to have larger FETs on it. Now, so I think the big question you have to ask is, do you really need an all-in-one, or could you go with a 20 millimeter build setup? And so like the Redux Air Nano F4 is a fantastic 20 millimeter ESC. It is fantastic. Look at the size of these FETs. Oh, so big. Big, beefy FETs. So, it's good performing. Now, this is an $85 ESC. Okay, so, ouch. But I think that like when the Beast F7 was $80, that's only $20 less. Like, it felt easier to justify an all-in-one. Brandon RC points out that it has less weight. It's easier to install and has fewer failure points because there's no connections. I mean, Brandon says I've had that happen. I have to say, like, the wiring and the solder joints is never the reason my builds are failing. Like, I mean, probably not never. Like, once upon a time, I had a bad video wire or something. But in general, the ESC to flight controller connection is usually pretty solid. And I wouldn't choose an AIO just based on that. But Your Majesty points out the Redux is on sale on Pyrodrone. Ooh, tempting. $83. Yeah. So I think I would rather spend $50 to $80 on a very good 20 millimeter ESC that I was really confident wasn't going to blow up, then spend $100 on an AIO and kind of always be wondering if today's the day it goes on me. And frankly, like the Newbie Drone, what is it? What's the name of the Infinity AIO? So, see, this kills me. This, like, literally gives me a stress headache. It's $170. Okay, never mind. Never mind. The Beast F7 is a good deal. The Beast F7 is a bargain. I take it back. Take it back. Like, I asked the owner of Newbie Drone about this, and I basically said, "Bro, I'm such a big fan of you as a person and your company. Love you. Mwah. But I don't see how I could recommend that anybody spend $170 on a stack, knowing that if one FET goes, boom, you're out $170." And he was like, "Well, they're really reliable." And I'm like, okay. If you say so. That's a big ask. Of course, it puts this $100 for the Beast F7 in perspective. So, my approach today, based on just my gut and my fears, and based on very little actual data, would be, if I were building a 3.5 inch, I would rather spend $100 on a 20 by 20 stack, knowing that if the ESC blew, I would be able to replace the ESC and for less money. And if I really wanted to be serious, I would spend like $80 on a very good 20 millimeter ESC and feel more confident. But the only reason I would go with an all-in-one is if I really cared about size, simplicity of build. Yeah. Anyway, that's my take. That's my take. Voltage FPV wants to know, what does the new BL-Heli32 feature called variable motor PWM frequency do? Good question. The answer is you should go here, I think, is the best place to go. Get this video. Get that video. That'll tell you. Variable PWM frequency changes the PWM frequency output by the ESC to try to avoid the motor harmonics and motor RPM frequency. Is weight a consideration when using an AIO? Cool Cat, I don't think AIOs are that much lighter than a 20 millimeter stack. I don't think they are. That's what everybody says. I don't think it's true. I think once you do the actual math, it's not that much difference. Calabrese 221 says, I'm not sure what Agent M is. Okay, hang on. Can I encourage you guys when I say, like, and Calabrese, I don't want to sound like I'm picking on you, okay? So take this in the right spirit. When I say, hey guys, flash your controller with TBS Agent M, and you go, I don't know what that is. Can you just, like, TBS Agent M, can you just, oh look, here it is. Here it is. It's right here. That's TBS Agent M. So TBS Agent M is a web-based flashing utility for TBS devices. Let me read the rest of your comment. I use TBS Agent X to update my Crossfire Micro TX, I believe 406. Is there something wrong with using Agent X? Yes, there is. Agent X has a problem, and when if you're working fine on 406, then stick with it. But if you need to update, you should use TBS Agent M until they work out the problems with Agent X. I don't mean to sound like I'm picking on you, Calabrese. Just I probably should have dialed that back. Abvishek asks, does 96K reduce the RPM during free motor rotating on Betaflight motor tab at full throttle? It rotates 12,000 RPM. If you're spinning the motor unloaded, I don't know if it's going to make any noticeable difference. You really need a prop on there. Don't do that, by the way. But from the tests that I've seen, higher PWM frequency increases efficiency at high throttle. But does it also increase thrust? Chris Rosser just put a video out. Testing. Hi, Chris. Let me just check his result. That's Motor Myths. Where is his BLH32 settings tested? Where's the results? Responsiveness. No, where's efficiency? Okay, so Chris says at full throttle, 128K PWM delivered more thrust at full throttle in this test. It consumed more power and produced more thrust. And it looks like it used 10% less power for the same thrust across most of the throttle range. So Chris's argument is that higher PWM frequency produced more thrust and more efficiency. So I would expect it to produce higher RPM. Whit Mead wants to know, have you heard anything about the Luminaire Elite Pro 60 amp ESC? Good or bad? I have a choice between it, the iFlight, and the HDZero 96K. So I don't know about that. I don't know a lot about this ESC. I would take the HDZero Reaper, which just because I know a lot of racers use it, and I think it's known to be good and reliable. I don't know that there's anything wrong with this Luminaire one, but the HDZero Reaper has been race tested, and is but of those three, that would be the one I would lean towards. Is there a 30mm version of the Reaper? I think there must be. All the racers use the 20mm one. Mikhail Tahira, thank you for €2. Is the Nazgul Evoke 5 still the best to buy in 2022? Man, it's up there. Nazgul Evoke 5, the GEPRC Mark... GEPRC is a new Mark 5, or Mark 5 is supposed to be really good. And the Diatone Roma F5 V2, all very good. The Evoke is up there, though. Is the Nazgul 5 V2 a good starting drone? Yes. If you can find a Nazgul 5 somewhere in the back shelf of some store, like they're not making it anymore, I don't think. Are they? I shouldn't be making the V2 anymore. If you can find, it's in stock for $300. In stock for, no. That can't be right. That can't be right. It's not in stock. Holy Nikes. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard to find something this good, this cheap today. It's a great starting choice. Whitmead, I think the Reaper 65 amp 30 millimeter is a good choice. Yeah. Folks, we're coming up on the end of the stream. It's about 10 minutes to the end of the stream. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming at 3 p.m., as he always does. And he's going to start posting the link to his stream, and he will start right when I go off the air. So, but we'll do a few more minutes here. Can a GoPro Hero 7 Silver work with GyroFlow? And is there any other better apps than the GoPro Quick app for mobile? Does the Hero 7 Silver also... I think all of the Hero 7s do the gyro data, so I think it would work. But I don't know, because nobody I know flies the silver. They all fly the black. Any thoughts on the RC Power 2107? Yes. Why did they make a 2107 motor? What a strange size of motor. It's like... What was the motivation here? RC Power makes great motors, so... Like... It's basically a 2207, but a little bit smaller. What's the weight? 29 grams. They saved basically a gram, maybe 2 grams, compared to a 2207. How much motor volume did they give up, though? Let's just... Cylinder volume. Let's see. Radius is 21, 22 is 11. Height is 7. That's a 2207 motor. Is 2660. 2660. So 2660. And then we've got 21 is going to be 10.5. 2424. So it's 10% smaller. That's actually substantially smaller. Yikes. It's 10% smaller. That's very interesting. That's like a noticeable amount smaller. I mean, I guess they've saved a roughly proportional amount of weight. If they save 3 grams of weight, it'd be roughly 10% the weight. How does it compare to a 2306? Uh, 23 is 11.5. 06. It is very similar in size. Now that's interesting. It's very similar in size to a 2306, but has a slightly taller stator, so it's going to have a little bit better rotational mass. The rotational mass is going to be closer to the center and be a little more responsive. So as I think about this motor, if it has similar volume to a 2306, then you can't say, it's too small, because everybody's happy with 2306. I mean, some people aren't, but it's clearly not just absurdly small. So they've created a motor with approximately the same volume as a 2306, but a little better rotational mass characteristic, a little better responsiveness. Very interesting. It's going to have slightly worse cooling than a 2306, though, because the wider the stator, the more airflow you'll get through it. It's a weird one. It's interesting and weird. Ciati's got a good point, though. Why is it as heavy as it is? Because there's 29-gram 2306s that are pretty good motors. So I'm curious why it didn't come in lighter. Interesting. Interesting. Josh Fisk, thanks for a $2 super chat. Josh asks, what happened to the pig? If you have to ask, Josh, I don't think you want to know. Harold Iuzardo asks, my new build flips once I push the throttle. Howard, I have a copy paste for that. Here's my copy paste for that, Harold. Harold, at this point, you can pause the video and read the text. Okay? That's the troubleshoot, though. The Giat Gamer 555 asks, where's my mouse? Where'd my mouse go? There it is. What is the best replacement for a GoPro on a budget? I think the Runcam Orange is a great choice. The image quality is not as good as a GoPro, but it's acceptable to people just having fun, and it works with GyroFlow. So, ZFPV says, I'm too much of an animal lover to kill a pet. Me too. Me too. But livestock aren't pets. That's how I slice it. Literally. Calabrese says, I've updated with Agent X. Am I going to lose control of my quad or something? Should I reflash with Agent M to be on the safe side? Calabrese, the issue is that then when you go to update the firmware on the receiver, it goes into this double blink mode where you have to do emergency recovery. So you won't lose control. You won't even get off the ground. If you run into this problem, which you may not, but it's such a pain in the ass to have to do emergency recovery on all your receivers, I would strongly recommend you flash your module to 6.13 or newer with Agent M before you go try to fly the next time. Bad for Life says, I updated an Agent X and have been fine. Okay, good luck. Good for you. Good for you, but many people are having this problem, so I would recommend you follow this if you don't want to get bit. But maybe people will be fine. 2:58 p.m. We got 2 more minutes. Roman Padilla says, everything is wired right for my GPS. I replaced it. It still won't gather any satellites. OSD flashes 0 sats no matter what I do. Roman, the first thing to do is look at the top of your Betaflight configurator, like right about here-ish. There's a series of sensor icons. Is the GPS icon lit up yellow or is it gray? If the GPS icon is gray, it's not even talking to your GPS at all. It's not an issue of the GPS getting locked. It's an issue of that it's not even seeing the GPS. Hold on, I can plug in here and I can show you. So let's connect here. So here's where you want to look. Right here is the GPS icon. If that is grayed out, then your GPS isn't talking to your flight controller at all. What you would need to do is go to the configuration tab. Have they moved it in Betaflight 4.3? Ah, nope, it's right here. Enable GPS. And then change the protocol to uBlocks, enable autobaud, and enable autoconfig. And while you're at it, enable use Galileo, can't hurt. And then save and reboot. And then also make sure in the ports tab, of course, that you have the correct UART enabled for GPS peripheral. And at that point, if the GPS icon doesn't turn yellow, you have a wiring or firmware issue. But you got to have that GPS icon yellow before you try to get satellites locked. It's 3 p.m., but I just got another super chat. Siati, give me one more minute. Orvo, thank you for €5. By increasing the idle speed, I get a more floaty cinematic look and get rid of some of the prop wash. What do you think? I agree. Increasing the idle speed will reduce prop wash. It'll just reduce the speed at which your quadcopter drops, which some people don't like. It'll also reduce your inverted hang time, which, of course, doesn't matter for cinematic flying. Okay, folks, that is going to bring us to the end of the stream. Siati has posted links to his stream, so go check him out if you want to keep the good vibes going. That is going to do it for me. I will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Thank you guys for coming out, and happy flying to everybody.